Cool. Yeah.
Hi, Rishika. Thank you for joining me today on the first episode of this new series. It's called The Vulnerable Me. Um, the idea that has been running in my head for a long time is uh, during the lockdown, I found a lot of friends reached out to me and spoke about feelings of some kind of inadequacy, something or the other, and not necessarily related to the lockdown or the uh, pandemic. And I was wondering why is this happening? And over a period, I have realized that while we are always willing to say I'm fine to the question how are you, we are not always necessarily fine, and there's something or the other that is sometimes eating us up, and then finding that mental health is becoming a big issue all over the world. I said we can just reach out to each other and say that we are similar. If you are going a little mad, I am also going a little mad. It's okay. So that's the objective of this exercise. And thank you for being the first guest. I've been wanting to start this for a while. The videos are back, and so are you. Um, would you want to start the conversation with giving us a bit of introduction about yourself?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me over in your talk. I have been pretty much looking forward to it since the time you told me about it because wow, what a topic, right? Vulnerable me. And vulnerability is something that people actually in our society stay away from talking about. Like that's one taboo. It's almost like a taboo that people don't want to show vulnerability or they
Yeah.
don't want to talk about their vulnerabilities because it's equal to weakness. Like vulnerability is equal to
Yeah.
weakness. So I was pretty happy to come on board and talk about this because I really think we need to normalize these things. And I guess that's one of the objectives of you
Yeah.
doing this,
Yeah.
the whole series. So thank you for having me over. And a little bit about me is that so we obviously know each other from events and from the media world. So I'm an event planner by profession, but my passion lies in yoga. I also teach yoga. That's something I do on the side, and I've done my teacher's training and all of that. I'm very passionate about it. So I try and live my life, and it's two opposites, right? Like it's literally events and yoga are two opposite ends of one spectrum because one is all about um, discipline. Like yoga is all about discipline and having a schedule and following principles, and events is all about jugaad. It's about like, okay, today I have an event and I'm going to, so it's completely opposite, but it's a lot of fun because yoga is also about balance, right? So I'm constantly trying to find that balance and I'm trying to apply everything that I learn in yoga because events also becomes your profession, meaning it becomes your duty. You need to do what you need to do.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a little bit about me and the dilemmas that I generally face on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, let's talk about vulnerability. Let's
Yeah.
dive deep into it now.
I have I have a question. You actually preempted me and brought up the topic of uh, why do we see vulnerability as a weakness, according to you?
I feel that the society generally see vulnerability is it's a feminine quality. Okay, it is a little it by its very nature it's the feminine side of things. Now we all know that the world and the prakriti, like we say it, and in yoga we talk about this a lot, where it's the sun and the moon, the masculine and feminine, every the opposite forces that we live by, and everybody, even the society and even the world that we live in, has these opposite forces, right? Masculine and feminine. Now, what has happened is over a period of time, for some reason, the society values the masculine qualities more. And I feel that everything that's soft and feminine and vulnerable and all of those qualities are condemned or almost suppressed because you're not supposed to be that way. You're supposed to, it's all about masculinity, is all about doing, right? Like do it and power. And I feel that that is so much more valued than the other side of the spectrum, which is the feminine qualities. So vulnerability comes under that umbrella. And yeah, I think things are changing slowly because now, there are moments on feminism and with Me Too and all of that, where we are seeing a fall of power in the society as a large, but it's going to take time. And people like us, now that we're talking about these qualities more, we're talking about these aspects of our life more, where there's nothing to be ashamed of. Vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is, in fact, about courage. And there's this researcher, there's this vulnerability researcher that I follow quite a bit called Brené Brown. Most people must have heard about her. So she talks about vulnerability a lot. And, she speaks about how vulnerability is about courage. If you don't have courage, you're not going to be vulnerable. So, what is so weak about courage? You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing weak about courage. And I think when you start looking at it from that perspective, what you think and feel about vulnerability starts changing.
Okay, so would you want to share any episode of your life, current, if possible? Because you and I spoke a bit about that when we were discussing the topic. And in my head, I realized if it's a memory that I'm retrieving to show that I'm vulnerable, sometimes I overdo the memory bit, or underplay the other person's role, or even try and shy away from owning up responsibility for what I did then. So if it is contemporary, is today or off late. In fact, you can start with the aspect of having two different loves. One is your profession and one is your personal life. Would you want to say you're having a bad day at events? We're feeling very vulnerable in terms of delivery. I've been there. We've worked together a couple of times. Uh, there's just no time. You have to deliver, and you have to deliver now. So how do you one accept your vulnerability at that point of time? And second, what is it that helps you hold your uh, guns at that point of time, saying, okay, I'll see this through?
There are a couple of things. So events is, we all know it's a very high pressure job because everything is about, also events is a very unstructured industry in India. It's still not where most of the industries are in terms of HR policies, in terms of, what we are looking at employees, like what companies, how companies treat their employees. And in a lot of ways, events as an industry is just not even close to where most of the industries have reached. So first, we have to acknowledge the fact that we have been working in an industry which is extremely unstructured, extremely unprofessional, because the HR policies are still not in place.
Yeah.
So understanding that, okay, the nature of the industry that I'm working is this, and that shouldn't take a toll on my mental health, because it is designed around the employers. It's not for the employees at all. So first, knowing that a lot of these, so earlier, before yoga entered my life, or before I entered the world of yoga in such a big way, I've been doing events for quite some time now. And before yoga, my perspective was very different. My attitude towards the delivering of, delivering in events and in the industry and navigating the whole industry was very different. It was about, oh, this needs to be done. And, it was almost like I was in a cocoon, and you think this is so important, as if, it's
Yeah.
like, if you, for example, if you have to deliver a script to the client, or if you have to deliver a certain creative, it's like this is the end of the world, and you it's almost as important as. And then, after yoga happened, I'm like, you're not operating anybody, like you're not a doctor, and you're not performing a heart surgery. It's completely fine if it can wait for half an hour. And though the industry and, your company or your employer, whoever may make you feel pressured in that point of time, you have to understand that you can say no, or you can step back and ask for more time, or whatever that is, and whatever works for you in terms of navigating that situation, right? So one is that, so not taking it personally, and not taking it, not taking, not letting it take a toll on your mental health. That was like one thing that I learned, where, because
Yeah.
yoga teaches you about everything passes, be in the moment, be present in the moment, and don't, like, basically not to take things too personally. And that made a huge difference in my attitude, or the way I started executing events. Because then I was like, wait a minute, this is a problem with the industry. It's not, I'm not going to take this pressure on me. First is that. And secondly, a lot of other things, meditation, chanting, all of these things that you do generally in yoga, it grounds you, right? Like it grounds you. It doesn't, you start not feeling threatened anymore in high pressure situations. You don't feel threatened. You just, look at it very practically and you do what's required and get away with. What happens also is that when you do, when you're in a high pressure situation and when you're trying to execute something and you're doing it with a certain mindset, and then there is that backlog that you're taking on, meaning, that baggage that you take away from the situation, that builds a certain karma. Like it builds a certain, we call it sanskar in yoga, which means that it stays with you. It
Yeah.
stays with you, and the attitude with which you need to do this is actually with grace. And just do it, leave it, move on. Just do your duty, move on. Think about it as, this is my duty in this moment, do it and then move on. The whole thing about karma as well, right? What's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, that do your duty and don't, phal ki apeksha mat rakho, kind of a thing. So just do it in that moment and let go, like let it go. Don't take the backlog with you everywhere in your life, in your head.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You covered a lot of ground. So I'll first quickly uh, tell you the things that I loved about it. Couple of values that you brought to the question, considering that we are always working under the values workshop umbrella. One is it's not about you. It's always about the process. Um, I love that because uh, a lot of leaders talk about that. Dhoni spoken a couple of times whenever he was winning or losing. Uh, he's spoken about that often. Second thing that you mentioned was uh, you you come to the situation and accept the pressure at that point of time, but do not let it get to you. So it's not that you're running away from the responsibility. You are actually doing it the way it has to be done at that point of time. The third thing I realized was that acceptance of whatever doesn't work has also to be worked with, because you can sit and crib for the rest of your life about life not being okay. I don't think the world or the industry or anybody cares. I think that aspect of what you covered is very, very beautiful. So, in the sense of even in the meditation that we land up doing sometimes, there's this aspect of non self uh, that is not bringing a sense of importance to everything. Oh, I am doing this. So, internally, you're letting go of both. A lot of people may not understand this basic thing is that the credit also has to be let go of. Because if you're going to want to be greedy about keeping the credit, then you have to take the blame also. But
Absolutely.
in the sense you are going the balanced part. One question which is a trick question. These were all nice things that I said before now putting the spanner in your works. What if somebody were to say, how do you hold the importance of the moment? There is something required to be done. On one hand, you're saying the event needs that thing to be delivered. On other hand, you're saying, okay, let it go. Let it go seems like a quote unquote loser attitude, and delivering seems like a winner attitude. So, how do you balance these two, and where does one stop, or what happens?
Yeah, that's actually a beautiful question. So when we talk about letting go of any expectations or expectations of the outcome, you're letting go of what you expect out of this situation or whatever you're doing. And the doing aspect is, or delivering aspect is about doing your duty. So in this moment, what is your duty? And again, going back to Bhagavad Gita, where, Arjun tells Krishna, I don't want to fight, because even if I win the war, what is the point? I'm going to be killing my uncles and my brothers,
Yeah,
and it's so simple that throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is saying that you just do your duty because you are a Kshatriya. And as a Kshatriya, your duty is to fight. So, in that moment, as an event planner, as a project head, or as a creative head, or whatever you're doing on the event, what is your duty in this moment? You need to deliver what needs to be delivered. These are your timelines. and what you get out of it, whether it happens, whether it culminates into a beautiful event or something disastrous happens because of something else not related to you, you need to let go of those expectations that, okay, I am putting in my 100%, but 100% might not come back to me. And that you have to be completely fine with that. And that's the whole law of karma that Bhagavad Gita talks about, where do your duty and leave the expectation of any fruits. That's not how it works. And that's what we mean by letting go and doing
So
it.